Thanks everybody for joining us now on Talk of the Now podcast. Jason is with us. Jason, you know what I want to do? I want to
What
do
do you What do you want to do, Gene?
like you hear these guys that are on the radio and they're like, coming to you live from the heart of Atlanta. It's the Gene Show
Yeah, you
starring Gene.
yeah, you definitely need an intro tag. Yeah,
Where dead is dumb. Wait, that's already taken.
yeah. You could pay Van Halen a lot of music for a lot of whatever royalties for the song right now.
Yeah, here you go, Van Halen. Here's my life savings, and I'll owe you extra money. But hey, I got your song. I can't imagine what the price tag was on the movie Rowan. How'd you say that? The Marvel movie. Was it Roanoke? Is that how they said that one? The Thor one?
What, the Ragnarok? Thor
Ragnarok. Yeah, when they used Led Zeppelin's immigrant song. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that. They got permission to use immigrant song. I wonder what the price tag was on that when they got them to capitulate.
Mm.
Well, but Jason,
Gene, yes.
This will be after the fact. Of course, it is after the fact, but
Always.
I have uploaded. We're way ahead of time here, but I've uploaded. If anyone wants to go back and look, episode 29 did an interview with the Ken Coleman of the Ken Coleman Show, Dave Ramsey personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you checked that one out, Jason, but it was a good interview.
Good.
He was a nice guy. He seemed like he was a little out of. He even admitted in the interview that his brain was sort of toast by the end of the day when he came on with me. So he didn't. I don't know if he had quite the energy that he usually has. Adjust my camera,
right.
But it was a great interview, and I gotta admit though, like that guy to me really stands behind. I mean, how many people that are even a semi celebrity give the time of day to just some hack out there with a podcast to say, oh yeah, I'll go on your show. I mean, his show is a career show. It's about helping people find their careers. But I mean, that to me, that's just so generous that he would do that he would just say, yeah, I'll do that. I mean, in my opinion, he's my first celebrity that I had on the show. And so
yeah, that's good
to do that. But Jason, we know, as fun as that was, we know where home base is. We know,
That's right.
We know where when you come home and you put your feet up, it's back here. It's right here.
It's back here. That's right.
That's right here. We're two guys.
Fireside chat. Yes.
Two guys talking about a bunch of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no script. There's no platitudes or longitudes or latitudes. It's just
changes in latitude sometimes, but anyway,
yeah. Changes.
Careful, royalties. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that, and Jason, this is home base right here.
It is.
And I realized that this episode is probably coming like 5 episodes ahead of that episode.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'm probably speaking in episode 34 talk or something, but
Yep.
That's all right. Maybe one day I'll get us caught up and we'll be like right on the day of it. But it's nice to have this so we could take a month vacation and nobody will know the difference.
That's true. They think, oh, they never stop talking. Well, no.
Yeah. Turns out Jason died 3 years ago, but
no, he had to go there.
Oh, sorry. Jason took a long extended vacation.
Yes.
Took a year off, but yet we still have content.
Jason hiked the Appalachian Trail and he's still talking.
Maybe, as I point my finger that looks like it's going up my nose, maybe we will have you on when I do my next sports tack with Jared. He's sort of become my resident sports talk show theme guy that I've been using. We've had 2 shows, unlike you and I, where we've had like 158,000 so far.
That's true. That's true. And you've uploaded at least 6 of those. Yes.
We're kind of like Seinfeld. We're a show about nothing.
That's the best, man.
I like talking to Jared though, because Jared, for anybody that hasn't looked, go find the Jared episodes where we do sports talk. Jared is a bit of an encyclopedia when it comes to talking about sports. And we were talking about the upcoming playoffs and the Braves, and he was just able to knock out the Brewers and what they bring to the table, what their pitchers are going to be like, who's the danger on. I mean, I couldn't tell you that.
You
And
know what? It might be better to have our friend, or my lifelong friend, and your friend of 20 years or so, Sam, on to talk with Jared. That would be a baseball encyclopedia show and a half.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, talk about somebody that knows. Sam is the man when it comes to baseball, and him and Jared, I could see just it might become the Sam and Jared show. But just being honest, because you can interject every now and then when you can take a breath. But yeah, Sam's a guy I grew up with, and it's always been a walking encyclopedia of a lot of things, biblical theology and baseball. I mean, seriously.
Jared has good knowledge of current sports as well. That's one of the reasons I like talking to him, and not just baseball, but he knows football, basketball, college football, and NFL pretty good too. So I don't know if he's quite as much as into the NFL, but he is a little bit. And and so since the Falcons,
and Jared also at one point was my roommate. Woohoo! There was nothing more exciting than being college basketball season, March Madness, when Michigan was in it, and listening to Jared yell at the TV was just, I mean, it got you into the game. It was awesome. Like, I was a Michigan fan during college basketball because of Jared, it's like, oh, I still root for them kind of in my heart because of Jared, So yeah.
So for Jason's stalker out there that's taking notes, that's Jared was his roommate at one point.
Right.
We'll be giving away that address in a future episode.
That's fine. I can give away the address now. Nobody lives there. So
surely somebody lives there, right?
Somebody lives there, but I don't care.
Are you Jason? No, I'm Frank.
That's right.
Oh man. Jason, how's your mama now?
Yeah, mama named good.
I bet somebody there's a guy a guy, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, or it could be some algorithm bot out there in Silicon Valley that I'm showing a blip on San Francisco whenever I look at the analytics. And I wonder if whoever they are in San Francisco, they've ever heard the phrase "your mama them."
Probably not.
Unless it's your sister.
No, it's not. I'm
poking in on her.
I can guarantee you my sister. I mean, no offense to us, but yeah, no. Probably not my sister or my brother-in-law for that matter. And my oldest nephew's not old enough yet. Although he could probably get on the podcast because he's that smart, but he no.
We don't need any intellects on there, Jason. I'm kidding.
No.
I work with my intellectia. Intellectia. How do you say that? Not intelligentsia. I work with my intelligentsia when I have the Reverend on to talk about theology. So there we go. Which we talked about salvation on one episode we did a few weeks ago, which was a great episode.
Yeah.
We're going to tackle God next. So that's going to be
tackle God. Good luck with that. I think
he could subject of God, I should say.
He could probably tackle you.
I know he could. And God, if that was sinful for me to say that, forgive me. I want to say that we're going to tackle the subject, attempt to tackle the subject.
Jacob, wrestle with God for a little bit. Yeah.
So you're the man.
I'm the man. No, Gene. Yes, you are the man.
He's the man.
Yes.
The Killers. We saw the Killers a while back, didn't we? That just reminded me of that song. I have a song called "The Man."
We did see the Killers. Yes, that was actually a good concert.
You know what concerts is coming to town, and I haven't decided if I want to do this, so I'm just putting it out there. The Stones are coming to Atlanta in November.
Not the Stones anymore.
And I'm trying to decide if I want to go see them.
Nope, you won't see the original Stones.
Well, I know we won't see the original lineup.
It's done. It's done. They need to quit anyway.
So you're out. You wouldn't do that.
I'm out. I'm way out.
Wouldn't do that, huh?
Because whatever it costs is too much. I just be honest with you.
With fees, it was $74 for the upper deck and down there at the old Domage in Atlanta, whatever that thing's called, Mercedes.
Why can't they play it freaking at the Gwinnett Arena? That'd be, or whatever, Infinite Energy Center. That'd be a lot better. Of course, the ticket would be twice as much because they can't hold as many. But I don't really want to go down there. to
Nah,
watch a concert. I just don't.
I'm just saying. I'm thinking about just to say that I, whatever, saw the remnants of the Stones at least once in my lifetime. That
Yeah,
I mean,
I
you won't be
wonder
able
who
to see
they're.
not going to see the remnants of the Beatles. You're not going to see the remnants.
No, I know. And
You
I've
could see the remnants of the Who potentially, but
true.
or the remnants of Pink Floyd one day, sort of.
Yeah, sort of. You have to see two different concerts, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen a couple bands that have toured longer than them, believe it or not.
Mhm.
I saw the Beach Boys, but I didn't see the whole Beach Boys because Dennis has been dead since 1980 or 81 or whatever it was. So
Well, the Stones had a founding member die in '69, so you've never really
right,
seen the
exactly.
actual
Technically,
Stones.
yeah.
So there you go. I mean,
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I'm glad
if you
we
want to
got
get
that
technical
settled.
here, Jason.
Yeah.
And the Beatles, for that matter, I mean, they got rid of one of their founding members like 62 or something, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
So,
Who remembers that guy? Nobody.
no, man, did he miss out on some dough? Wow.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Talk about the biggest mistake, whatever he did to get removed from that band. But yeah, I went to a concert last week. So
Who? Not the Who did you see? Oh, 311. Yeah. I saw your Instapot on that.
yeah, man.
I mean, Instagram.
They put on a great show as always. This was my 14th time seeing them.
Did you take your lady friend?
I did not. I took my friend Monty went with me.
Oh yeah, I know Monty.
Monty and Jeff was supposed to go, but Jeff couldn't go, so we actually had a ticket that I had to just waste.
The Score Man?
Yes.
I sent a follow-up to him and he never followed back with me on getting on the show.
He's going through he's actually had somebody call him for a job. So he might be getting a new job that somebody called him for, which is kind of a cool.
What field is it?
It'll be I don't know if it's gonna be IT or not, but it's gonna be working with a company that does like the heart monitor stations that go into like Walmart and places like that. So
okay.
It's some kind of it's like almost like a point of sale sort of company.
Yeah.
So
wow, that Jeff, man. How many jobs has Jeff had now? So he had like 50 jobs since he graduated college.
Yeah, I think so.
And he's still his own entrepreneur on the side too, isn't he? Doesn't he have a side hustle still?
Oh, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He does not have that anymore. But yeah, so it was a good concert. Boys from Omaha, put on a good concert as always.
I always forget they're from Omaha. Wow.
Yeah. It was perfect weather. It was like 73 degrees with a breeze. It was like, oh my gosh, clear skies. It had just been raining all like crazy earlier last week, but it cleared for that and it was just perfect.
Omaha, Nebraska.
And Monty paid me back for the ticket by buying me a
large Coke.
Well, a Coke Zero and a t-shirt. So I got a t-shirt. I haven't bought a 311 t-shirt in a while. So it was nice. I got a cool green retro looking t-shirt. So anyway, yeah.
I missed out on a concert that I didn't realize till like a week ago. It was just too short notice. So I didn't want to do it. But next time they come in town, I'm probably going to try to check them out, which I wouldn't doubt if they come back sooner or later. Hall & Oates came to town last week.
Oh, really?
And I missed it. Yeah.
Those two guys hate each other. That's what sucks.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's awful. I'm like, what? But
they must get along well enough to get back on the road together.
Well, they know where their bread's buttered.
Yeah.
That's when it comes to, there's another Southern term. But yeah,
one of my favorite bands when I was little growing up, just always liked Hall & Oates, just their
great
sound. And even
Philadelphia
to this day,
sound, man, it's great.
Even to this day, I'll listen to their music on occasion.
Oh yeah, it doesn't disappoint. It's good stuff.
Although I will say, to me, some of their deep cuts are not quite as good, but
yeah, I'm kind of with you. They're one of those bands that's kind of the opposite, where you like them, but you like what everybody else likes,
Mm-hmm. Although, go ahead.
No, they just had a lot of hits, so you don't really need as many deep cuts.
No. Well, I was just going to say that unlike them, like for instance, would you say Rush is your top 5 bands?
Yeah.
Rush, okay.
Of course, never see again.
But you're the kind of guy that you like almost all deep cuts of their stuff, right?
Yeah, and some of their early deep cuts are whole album side, one song, instrumental, weird, crazy stuff. But but yeah, they're a different kind of band where you can listen to a whole album. The whole album kind of tells a story. You know, that's a different kind of band than a Hall & Oates. They're not going to do that. They're going to have a bunch of singles.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But
you
yeah, normally with a favorite band, you're right. You listen to a whole album, you love all of it. But it just depends. Anyway, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's
Okay. Okay.
Let's dive deeper into while we're on the Rush subject here. Let's talk about Rush and
Yeah.
Canadian rock music.
All right.
How about that?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Because here's the thing.
Canada, let's go down that carefree highway.
A lot of people look at Canada, I think, as sort of like the little brother of America that just gets a free military underneath it to protect it at all times.
Well, I've heard it described as the loft apartment over a good party. So
the loft apartment. Yeah. Although I hear it's really clean up there. Like it's literally very clean when you go.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever been?
No, I've heard. I mean,
yeah,
I've flown over it. That's about it.
Well, I think we've all heard the story that the Canadian side of Niagara Falls is better than the American.
It's the better side. It's the one that everybody takes pictures of. That's the best side. So Canadian. All right.
I'm looking up Canadian rock music as we're speaking.
Okay,
here. So
now
talk amongst yourself, Jason.
I'll talk amongst myself. Now we can go down again. We can go down this carefree highway, or get to the port to the Edmund Fitzgerald, or many different things that I could leave with Canadian hit songs. Because I'm obviously thinking of our friend. Yeah, there's.
I'm trying to find a list of Canadian music. Not necessarily rock, but
no, just music in general. I mean, Anne Murray. Think about that. Just like how many hit songs Anne Murray had. If you want to make our mothers cry, we can. I can put up a rendition on a acoustic guitar of "Could I Have This Dance?"
Wow, I did not know I didn't know Bare Naked Ladies were Canadian.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're like one of the biggest Canadian bands.
I did not know that, Jason.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Birchman Stadium, home of the Robbie.
No, I did not know this. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more Canadian. I mean, obviously we think of angry Canadian women singers.
Like Shania Twain? I'm kidding.
Alanis Morissette.
Feel like a woman. I like
Shania. What's her name? Oh gosh, why am I
okay, I found an article. 35 best rock bands of Canada.
Oh Lord help us all. Let's start with the bottom, Gene. Let's go up.
I don't know if this is a good list or not. So we're just
okay. Well,
I'm glancing over it here, and
if one that I know should be on top's not on top, then it's not a good list.
Oh, of course, Rush is number one. So
thank you. Okay, then we can use this list.
But
because honestly, Gene, everything else doesn't matter.
so far, I don't even recognize some of this. The Devin Townsend Project.
Okay,
never heard of him. Number 3, they had Annihilator.
Yep.
I hadn't heard of them. Okay.
Yep. Heavier band.
Now I am a fan of this band. I have some of their albums. Arcade Fire.
Yep. Another great band.
I've seen them live actually. Godspeed You, Black Emperor. Never heard of them. I didn't realize. Well, they are
who
the band. They're
band.
not all Canadians though.
But some Canadian is all Canadian.
Like the lead singer wasn't from Canada, right?
I don't know.
The guy that sang the night
they drove Old Dixie down.
Yeah, I don't think that guy is Canadian. I think that he might actually be a Kentuckian.
I don't know.
Okay, Protest the Hero. I haven't heard of a lot of these.
Okay.
3 Days Grace. You probably know
3 Days Grace. Yep.
Silverstein. Haven't heard of them.
Silverstein? No.
Yeah, or Stein, one or the other.
Okay.
Okay, the Guess Who. Always forget about them.
Oh, one of the best bands from Canada. Honestly, probably in my top 5 of Canadian bands.
Yeah. American Woman.
Well, that's not their best song.
Actually, No Sugar Tonight might be my favorite theirs.
I like No Time Left for You.
That's
I like that song. Well. I like stuff like that, but yeah, they're definitely a quintessential late 60s, early 70s band.
They had a smooth sound, in my opinion.
Yeah, to me, they're like they're psychedelic in some ways, but they're not quite. But anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Well, no, that's all right. I was just thinking that we can camp out on any of these. I was thinking that they remind me a little bit of like, okay, take this.
Yeah.
Baby boomers are loving this conversation.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
The Guess Who, in my opinion, are sort of like the Canadian version of Three Dog Night. How about that?
That's not a bad comparison,
My
honestly.
dad loved Three Dog Night back.
Oh,
in
my
the
mom and dad loved them too. They went to a concert before I was born.
Yeah.
A
But I'd
3 Dog
almost
Night
like,
concert.
I mean, those two on the same ticket would be a great concert.
That would be, yeah.
Okay. I used, okay.
What's that?
Some 41, I did not realize that number
Yep.
11 was a Canadian band.
We're already at number 11. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. See, I don't know a lot of these. And I
Okay,
haven't
what's
heard of a
number
lot of
12?
these.
Keep going.
Theory of a Dead Man.
Yeah, I know them.
Nah, yeah. Bachman Turner Overdrive. Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Yep.
I didn't know that. I
You
didn't
ain't
know they
seen
were.
nothing yet,
Wow.
Gene.
I
You
did
ain't
not
seen
know they're
nothing yet.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yep.
So many of these I just haven't heard of.
Yeah,
Strapping
yeah.
Young Lad.
Mm.
I've never heard of them. Nickelback is in number 15.
Nickelback made the list.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like everybody that talk about the butt of every musical joke. It's Nickelback because they're derivative. That's the whole point. Anyway,
here's my standing on Nickelback. They're not as bad as they get the, like, musician wise, I guess. They're probably not.
No,
as
I
bad
agree
as
with
they
you
get
on
the
that.
whatever
I
on.
agree with you on that. It is more just a.
And I have
I
heard
think
yeah.
I think it's Chad Kroger's voice, maybe more than anything. But
And
it
I
gets
listened, yeah. No, I was gonna say I listened to I think their first album maybe one time, and a couple of the songs that were not on the radio. I was like, that's not half bad, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
Were you ever a fan of Creed, by the way?
Initially on their first album and maybe second album.
First album's not bad, yeah.
And then it was like, because the second album, what was it called? Human Seed or Human something? Human Clay. Had Higher on it. And then after that, it became just laughable.
Well, would you say that Creed was sort of the last vestige of the sort of the grunge rock kind of going out the door?
Nope. I would say that grunge was already done, and Creed, although their first album did sound grungy,
right? That's what I meant.
I would say Creed is the first new rock band.
Like I was thinking that Creed is sort of, since they sort of had that grunge feel some ways, like they were sort of like the last band to sort of close the door on grunge rock. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it was.
And I sort of feel like bands like Nickelback sort of, I don't know, came out of Creed, but sort of like
it is new rock.
It's
called new rock. It's new rock. Yeah.
Just a thought.
And I think all right. I think it is more appropriate to say that Creed's first album might have been one of the last grungy sounding newer bands.
I mean, Collective Soul, I guess, was grunge, at least on their first album. But they're sort of their own genre, in my opinion.
I don't think they're really grunge. It's hard for me because grunge is so specific. The alternative is the blanket.
Yeah. Probably more alternative than grunge.
Yeah, because grunge is like Nirvana's like freaking first album.
It's kind of that, I don't know how to describe it. It's just sort of that grunge / alternative sound a lot of bands had. I'm thinking bands like a
lot of bands' first albums were very grunge like that. Like Stone Temple Pilots, Core. Yeah. Core was from Stone Temple Pilots was definitely more grungy.
Well, I was thinking of some of the people that like kind of fed off of that image. What was that one band? Now maybe didn't mean to treat you bad. Oh man, but I did it anyway. Who was that?
Candlebox?
Yeah, Candlebox. That was quite the band.
Yeah, I saw them up at 37 Main in Buford. And sounded okay. They sounded better than the first time I saw them. They opened for Rush, which was, they were horrible then. But yeah.
Oh, we're going to have a 90s talk one day. We're going to do
one day, Gene.
90s
one day, Gene. Anyway, what's the next one on the list?
Sits down in there.
Keep going.
Some band called Voivod, Voivod. Not heard of them. Broken. Yeah, go ahead. The number 17 is Broken Social Scene. See, a lot of these never heard of. 18, Propaganda. Propagandhi, Propagandhi.
Propagandhi.
Propaganda is almost what it looks like.
If there are any listeners in Canada, we are butchering these. We are sorry.
Is that the propaganda?
Yeah.
The new pornographers. I didn't know they were Canadian. Heard of
Yep.
them.
Yep. Yep.
Billy Talent. I hope he had talent. Let's see, with a name like that.
Apparently not enough for us to remember. But anyway, keep going.
Cataclysm. Haven't heard of them. With a K. Yeah, a lot of these just haven't heard of. Death from Above, 1979. Skinny Puppet, and Simple Plan. Haven't heard of any of these people.
Simple Plan, I've heard of. Yeah.
Do Make Say Think. 1,000-Foot Crutch.
Oh, 1,000-Foot Crutch. Another heavy metal.
Gorguts. Yeah. Man, what's some names here? Finger 11.
Finger 11, really. If I traded it all, if I gave it all away for one thing.
Icon.
That song Finger 11 had that sounded nothing like the rest of their music was their hit. Their one hit.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought I saw another article, or not article, but
well, because you could just branch it out to just Canadian artists or Canadian musicians all together, and
right,
and it gets even bigger. You know.
Let me go. Okay, here's a ranker one. This might have some good stuff on it here. Hopefully, they have Rush at the top as well. Yes, they do.
They better. Otherwise, they're going straight to hell. No splash.
I always forget that Neil Young's a Canadian.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't like Neil, but I like his stuff. Most of his stuff.
I like his stuff a little bit. He got a little
great guitar player. His early stuff is really good, especially with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
He's an okay guitar player, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess it's a stylistic thing. Let's see. Triumph. Did we mention them?
Triumph. Yes, I love Triumph. They're one of my favorites. I love Magic Power and Fight the Good Fight every moment. Oh, so great. Love Triumph.
How could we forget, just off the top of our heads, Mr. 80s himself? Can you go ahead and take a guess?
Which Mr. 80s?
I'd almost call him the Canadian Bruce Springsteen in some way of the 80s.
Bryan Adams.
Yes. Bryan.
Crater
Summer
Face,
'69. Yeah. Okay, so you got a favorite Bryan Adams song?
Whatever the end of one is.
I like Bryan Adams. I like his stuff.
It got worn out on me.
Gonna run to you, baby. Mr. Gordon Lightfoot. Didn't realize he was
Carefree Highway. That's what I was telling you. Let's go down the Carefree Highway to the port to get on the Edmund Fitzgerald. That was my key.
You probably know April Wine. Never heard of it.
Yes. Oh, another good 70s rock band, dude. Oh, so good.
Steppenwolf.
Yep.
Alanis Morissette.
You
can't do that on television.
You ought to know, Gene. You ought to know.
Okay, I did not realize that Jeff Healey was a Canadian. The Jeff Healey
Yep.
band. Wow, so many. And I think you mentioned Joni Mitchell, did you not? But I didn't know she was Canadian. All right, what else do we have that? Our Lady Peace. Didn't realize they were Canadian.
Yep. Another great band.
I didn't realize Loverboy was a Canadian band. Wow. I'm learning so much. Tom Cochran. Didn't know.
Tom Cochran. Oh, one song. Yeah.
Sarah McLachlan.
Sarah McLachlan. Yep.
Did not realize that either. Wow. So many names that I did not realize were Canadian. Holy cow.
Keep going on the list.
Well, I think we're about exhausted it here.
Where's Anne Murray?
There's a lot that I didn't see that one. There's a lot here that I just don't recognize, like the Trews, Trews. Honeymoon Suite.
I know them. Yep.
Yeah, and Big Sugar, I Mother Earth. Never heard of these people. Matthew Good Band. Headstones. Some of these I recognize, some of them I don't.
Keep going.
Red Rider would be because we already mentioned
Fringe.
Yeah. So yeah.
I just think there are obviously people missing off of that list.
Crash Test Dummies. Who knew they were missing?
Yep.
Wow.
Sorry.
Lighthouse is Canadian. Wow.
Yep.
Did not realize these people were Canadian. See, Canada has a lot of rockers. That's crazy. A lot of I bet you've heard of Platinum Blonde, haven't you?
Yep.
Jason is our encyclopedia of music.
He is our resident cars. Yes.
Jason is our resident musical encyclopedia. And Jason, how dare you forget Avril Lavigne, by the way?
It's complicated, Gene. It's complicated.
How dare you?
Sorry. It's just, it's complicated.
Okay, so we already established that we'll end it here with talking some Rush. But we've already established that Rush
So
is
Rush,
the
yeah, I
best
mean,
Canadian band.
right, and by far, and one of the best and one of the greatest bands of all time. To think that that came out of those three guys, it was just three guys.
Mm-hmm.
And to think of what they accomplished, and they only had one album with their first drummer, John Rutsey. That first
Mm-hmm.
album, the
Pretty good.
self-titled. Well, I mean, he's just a drummer at that point. He wasn't really anything great. But obviously, when Neil came along, and who was also the lyricist, Neil would work on lyrics, and then Alex and Geddy would work on the actual instrumental parts separately. Like, they didn't know what each other was doing, and then they would make it work. They were that good together, and they also were one of the nicest group of guys ever. Those three guys, and they would come to agreements on everything. And if they all didn't agree, then guess what? It didn't get done.
Mm-hmm.
Just very, very cordial. Very. Kiss talked about, Gene Simmons. They opened, or they toured with Kiss before they were really big, and Gene Simmons talks about, here are these guys who get on stage and just do this amazing musical display before we even come out there. And they don't party, they don't do anything else. They go back to their hotel rooms and read. And
so these guys weren't like the party lifestyle rockers.
No, I mean, I guess they did have some later on, but they were not like, you're not your normal,
right.
I mean, it was kind of geeky rock to start with, but I think I've watched multiple documentaries on things. I've read Neil's books, or I've listened to Neil's books on audiobooks.
Okay, well, let's check a little bit of your knowledge here. The guitarist, Alex Lifeson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Jason. Is that his real name?
Probably not.
No, it's not actually. Yes, it's a stage name, professional name. I can't even say his real name. I'm looking him up on Wikipedia. It looks like he is. Let's see. It looks like it might be perhaps an Eastern European orientation. Looks like Alexander. Starts with a letter that looks like a Z with a symbol on top. Zivojinovicc.
So yeah, Lifeson. Okay.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that.
Well, it's Eastern European for Lifeson. Anyway, no, I'm kidding.
But he was actually British Columbian. I thought they were all from the Ontario area. Serbian, right. Yugoslavian.
Right.
His parents.
Right, which you can kind of see in his face, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they weren't all from Toronto originally. Yeah, I mean, I just getting to see them live, and I mean, I saw them live with you once.
Mm-hmm.
And just Neil doing his drum solo is just otherworldly. I mean, it just they transport you with their music, and I think
now, is Geddy Lee, is that his full name?
No.
Okay, very good, Jason. Yeah, I did not realize that until I looked this up.
His parents escaped, or survived the camps, in the Holocaust.
Oh, I think I may have heard that before. That's crazy.
Yeah, which is awesome. Just a really cool story, and he's also one of the biggest baseball fanatics you'll ever meet. Knows his stuff too. He could do his own podcast about baseball, and not mention music at all, and be okay.
But Neil Peart, he's a long time Canadian background person, though, right? Like a family origin, I should say.
I think so.
Yeah. It looks that
his dad owned a tractor parts store. And that's where he worked. And then when he auditioned for the guys, he showed up with tiny little drum set with a really tiny bass drum, and he just did this whole thing, and the guys were like, well, yeah, okay, you're our drummer, and didn't realize he was such a lyrical,
nice little investment there.
Such a great writer too. And if it hadn't been for Neil, I mean, they probably wouldn't have been successful, period.
Oh, for sure. Not nearly as successful.
You wouldn't have ever heard of them. They'd be one of those bands on the list. You're like, oh, I don't think I've ever heard of them.
I mean, some people might have heard Working Man. I mean, that might have been, in the backlog of
right, but I don't even think that one would be as popular without the stuff that followed, and then especially when you get to albums like 2112,
Well, I'm just saying it might have just ended up being a 70s one-hit wonder type thing.
Right. And then so in 2112 came out, and it was just kind of like, whoa. Still a largely geeky album, but it went more wide release, and then you get Permanent Waves and things like that, and it was just like, whoa. And of course Moving Pictures came out and just sent them to the moon, as far as popularity goes. And
Boy, talk about selling out venues when they go back home. I bet they sold many large venues out in Canada.
what's funny is, we'll never see them tour again, because they're not that kind of band that's going to replace anybody.
Right.
Those
They
guys
called it. They officially called it quits. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, dude. They officially called it quits before Neil died.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's right.
Citing that Neil had
I think I'd heard that.
arthritis problems, and and back in my head I'm thinking Neil would have played through the arthritis. He's just that kind of person. Yeah, there must be something else going on.
Now, do the other two guys, or are they just thinking they're just retiring as well? Like they don't want to do any solo
I mean,
stuff?
I think they can write books, they can do other things. I know Getty wrote a book about the Big Book of Bass, is what it's called. And I missed his signing. He did a signing here in Atlanta area, and I should have gone to it. But I mean, they could probably do solo stuff, but they don't strike me as a solo band.
Yeah, I don't think Getty ever had any solo albums or anything.
No, none of them did. I mean, they can probably write music and do other stuff on the side. But I just think, he's one of the, Neil was one of those artists, when he died, that tore me up. That was one of those days where I couldn't anymore. I was like, I'm done with this people dying stuff. Before their time, really.
Yeah,
especially comparing
the cancer, those prognoses,
right, which harder. we didn't know until he died. They kept that one very quiet.
Right, sort of like Norm.
Well, and knowing that it was brain cancer too, for somebody whose mind was really brilliant. Neil had a brilliant mind. If you want anybody listening, if you want a good read or a good listen on, an audiobook of something, get his books. Ghostwriter, which is written right after he had within a year, he had two big tragedies. His wife died, or his daughter died in a car accident on her way back to college. And then his wife died like 10 months later from cancer.
Wow.
And so he took off on his motorcycle. He's a big motorcycle guy. And he took off on his, BMW touring motorcycle, drove all the way across Canada up to Alaska all the way down to South America and back, and documented it all with a book. And fascinating. I mean, just fascinating inside his mind. And he'd written a few other books, but that one to me, that got me. I'm sitting there following along, listening to it on my computer at work or on my headphones, and looking up the locations on the internet as he talks about them. It's really cool. But just, he was brilliant. And he just, to lose that guy to brain cancer, I mean, that had to be the worst news for him. I mean, not that any other cancer is not just as bad, but for him to lose his mind, had to be very humbling. And you just, we hope he found God. He was famously agnostic, unfortunately. And he had a respect for Christianity. His parents were Christians, and, he went to Sunday school and all that, so he knew it. So you just hope that there's that part of me, Gene, that thinks it would be really cool, not that we'll really care, to go to heaven and hear this drumming going on and be like, wait a minute. And it's Neil, just you think maybe in his failing mental state at some point that God spoke to him, but we don't know. But anyway, but no, seeing Rush live was an event. I mean, that was, by the time we saw them on that Snakes and Arrows tour in Alpharetta at the amphitheater, they had stopped having opening acts. They realized they have way too many hits, and they were doing their whole thing where they played the South Park Little Rush thing, and then they come in with Tom Sawyer, really cool stuff. But just seriously, working band, always touring. They Neil hated it. Neil hated touring, which is kind of funny. The song Limelight, right? One of their famous songs, I can't pretend a stranger is a long awaited friend. That's Neil talking about being, an introvert and having to meet everybody at concerts and stuff. It's like, to me, they were one of those bands that I think it was kind of fitting that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame waited to put them in, because they didn't care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That was the key. That was what's so funny, is the fans cared more than they did. And I thought it was fitting that it took a long time and that they were still a working band, still out on tour, and came in there. And Dave Grohl's, induction of them is really good. And then, of course, Alex Lifeson's acceptance speech part was hilarious. The whole blah, 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 blah. I was like, that. It was hilarious.
I should go back and watch that sometime.
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of those good ones. But you sit there and you think, okay, it's like we talked about before. 100 years from now, who are they going to be playing? Who are people going to listen to? Nothing against some other Canadians, but I don't know that they're necessarily going to be listening to Avril Lavigne. I don't know that they're necessarily going to be listening to Alanis Morissette. I know there are a lot of people out there that might get offended by that, but I'm just saying.
They might listen to a Guess Who song here and there.
No, the Guess Who, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like, definitely the Guess Who. Definitely Gordon Lightfoot. Definitely Rush. Rush is timeless. Or I should say more appropriately, time will stand still for them. There's, I don't know. I let a lot of bands like kind of permeate through my musical taste and my musical moods, and Rush is one that's always there. Aside from the aforementioned 311 and other, bands like that. Your other bands, NXS. I think of bands that I can always listen to, and it always helps me escape. And that's
NXS in your top 5.
They're in my top 10.
Okay,
definitely. They're one of those bands that just, yeah.
Well, I
had appreciation for them, but then I had even more of appreciation for them later in life.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll go ahead. What are you saying?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that my final thing about Rush is that I was glad that I got to see him in concert. I'm glad you talked me into going to that concert, because I got to see him live. It was I learned more about their other catalog stuff by being there. That it's a lot more thorough. A lot of their other songs are a lot more thorough than the 5-minute incremental songs you hear on the radio.
Yep.
I mean, sure, the crowd cheered real loud for the hits, but it was fun to hear. It was fun to hear more of the deep cuts and how they were a little bit more different. So,
yeah, if you want to do it, you pop on a Rush album and listen to the whole album. I mean, it transports you, especially some of the earlier stuff where you've got like the whole album side songs.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, oh, but it transports you almost like orchestral, like you listen to a symphony, you don't necessarily need the 5-minute plug songs, but you go on this journey with the band, and then you get albums like Fly By Night, which was their second album, which was the first album with Neil. You get songs like By Tour and The Snow Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like, huh? And then I figured out in a documentary that literally there was these 2 dogs at one of the producer guys' house, and one of them was biting all the time, and the other one was like this white fluffy dog. So they just wrote a song called By Tour and The Snow Dog. But it sounds like it's a real story, and that's the power of good lyricists and good musicians put together. And they, to me, are the quintessential lyricist musician match, period. But yeah, so.
Well, on that note, Jason, I think we'll end it, but well, that was a good talk. I'm glad we had that talk about the Canadians and the tragedy that unfortunately is that Rush is no longer with us as a band. But
we had their music.
Yeah, we got their music. So kind of like we don't have, we haven't had Led Zeppelin in a really long time, but we have
really
music,
I mean, and their career was a heck of a lot shorter, but they still had the same impact.
productivity, people. It's a good thing producing
Yeah.
stuff. All right, Jason. Well, we will holler at you later. And thanks for joining us, everybody, on Talk of the Now. And Jason, what do you got to say to everybody?
Well, keep it between.